You are listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 23. This is part 2 of my chat with Cassy Field, founder of Woash Wellness, where we chat about her newfound passion, mentorship. If you haven't yet listened to episode 22, I encourage you to do so now and then jump back over to this one. She shares all the goods of how to create hype around a launch, how to get your name out there in the world, and so much more. She really doesn't hold back. So get comfy with a cup of organic tea and let's continue learning from the amazing Cassy Field. You are listening to Love Unplugged, a podcast focused on love in all its forms. I'm your host, Jessica Fergon, hopeful romantic and founder of Project Love. I found that too often love is set aside or taken for granted, and we tend to forget how to care for ourselves and our important relationships in the day-to-day chaos. So let's slow down, tune in, and begin our journey of rediscovering love. From honest heart-to-heart conversations with real couples and knowledgeable guests to deep dive reviews of new products and services that will help you feel beautiful inside and out. If you're looking for relatable advice or wanting to be inspired by real-life love stories, you've come to the right place. Without further ado, let's get to it.
How do you know who your audience is?
Totally. So who you are targeting is the most important thing. That and your why. If you're going to do anything in your business and you're going to throw it all, the rest of it to the wind, know what your why is, why you're doing what you're doing, and who you're targeting. If you don't know those two things, you actually don't have a business. There's no way that you can function. So this kind of comes from, think of a business, for example, that you're kind of like, you've come across and you're like, hey, they're cool, but what do they actually do? Like, what's their niche? Like, let's say they dabble. They're like, oh, we do copywriting and we do digital design. And then we do networking meetups. And then we also like develop leaders. Like, let's just say it's this really weird encompassing kind of, but overall, what do? They help businesses. But if you look at them, you're like, what on earth do they actually do? Are you going to hire them?
No.
Because you have no idea what they do or
Confused
specialize
mind
in.
never buys.
Exactly. Perfect. Great saying. I love that. That was gold. So that's what I steer so clear of. And again, kind of coming back to I want to hire and work with and collaborate and be a part of something that is so specific.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to look at your business and know exactly what you do and who you do it for and why you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you come across any part of your brand, your Instagram, one of your posts, one of your stories, your your website homepage, your about page, whatever it may be that people come across, any touch point, your podcast,
mm-hmm.
people want to be like, this is what she does, and she does it for me. So you want to be that audience that you are directly speaking to. I want you to be like, I want to be able to feel as a customer, I want to be able to feel like you just read my soul. She read my soul. I needed to hear this so badly. It's really that like heartbeat of your business. If you're not speaking directly to your target market, you are speaking to nobody.
Okay,
pause.
For letting that sink in a little bit. And from my own personal experience, you are bang on.
Yeah.
Okay, because with the blog, started out in weddings, kind of started doing some other things, and then I started the podcast, which is like a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell everybody here now, I have had comments from people saying, so exactly what do you do?
Totally.
Like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you been out? Like, aside from them not even knowing how to pronounce the name, which that's a whole other story. Pick a name that people can pronounce.
Yeah, I have a whole other topic on that.
Confusion
it drives people away.
Yeah, you're not going to attract anybody.
And they'll be like, this is cool. Like, your Instagram page looks beautiful. So like, people can come to your page and really and like love it. They can really resonate. It's beautiful. They're kind of like, ooh, this is stunning. Because of course, for one, let's say Instagram, it's visual. So that's how you capture people. But then it's like your captions or your bio. Like, what do you do? Why am I staying on here? And that's really where you're going to get drop-off rates. So people are going to come, they're going to see your aesthetic. They're going to be like, ooh, I like this. But then they're going to be like, what does she do? They're like, oh, done. We see so much content. You have to be speaking directly to your customer, or they are just going to fly right by you. So kind of a good exercise is really is really figuring out, you know, what their pain points are for what, like, and that comes from like, what are you offering? And then what's those pain points? So those, I'd say 3 to 5 pain points within your audience, what are they? And what are they so specifically? And then how do you solve those? What are the features, the benefits, the unique value offerings that you have that solve those pain points for them?
So in your mentorship programs, do you have like a template for like an avatar
Yeah.
that you kind of help your mentees kind of go through that exercise to define who that audience is?
Yeah, totally. So step 1 is all about what's your concept? What's your business? Let's talk about your mission, your vision, your core values. That's a whole other thing you really need to dive into. If you don't know your values, which, excuse my language, are like your fuck yeses and your fuck nos, like you need to know those.
Mm-hmm.
And you better stand behind those, because if you start wavering on those, people are going to know, especially in a product-based business or service.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not standing, then your quality is going down. So I'd say, core values about 4 to 5, 4 to 6. You can even go on many large businesses and you'll be able to find out what their core values are. Again, their mission and their vision, so important. And then there's way more into that. So that's kind of your what. Step 2 is what your offering is. So that's kind of what your business is, your why. And then it's kind of like, what are you offering? So like, what's your business offering? And then the third step is, who are you doing it for? So we build out your entire customer. You know what toothpaste they use in the morning and in the evening. Like that's how detailed you have to be. And I often say, like, name my avatar is called Romy. So if I put out a product, the first question I ask myself is, would Romy drink this? When would Romy drink this? Why would Romy drink this? Why would Romy pick this up off the shelf in a grocery store? What would attract Romy to this product? Those are the answers that you need to know. And if they're not all like, yes, 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 absolutely yes, all the way to like hitting that buy button, you got nothing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think I need you in my life. So I want to talk about launch, specifically because I'm doing a rebrand.
Yes,
hopefully I'm launching Monday. So I want to know, how do you create a hype around launch? How did you do it?
Yeah. No, I think you're, for one, setting a date. I love how they said like Monday. Like, for one, put it out into the world.
So that you stick to that day.
Yeah, because you'll just be like, okay, maybe like, because nothing's ever going to be ready on time. So the night before, I think I probably said this in the last podcast, the night before we launch, I had no packaging. I had to go to the store, and we actually had our teal packaging that we have now, I had like just generic white ones. And then I had to get overnighted stickers made to put on them because none of our packaging arrived.
That must have killed you a little bit.
I was dying. I was like, because I was like, this is my brand. I was like, this is so not okay. And it was really hard and it was a tough decision, but I made a choice to launch on a day and people were expecting me to be there. And we were there and our sales were still insane. And we had so many compliments on our packaging and they were just like over the moon about it. I'm like, guys, I was apologizing. I was like, this isn't our packaging. Like, they were like, what do you mean? This is stunning. I love what you did. It was so funny. So honestly, like, for one, set a date. You have to, or you'll never get there. And the buildup of a launch is so important. And kind of like I mentioned before, you need to build a community prior. And I love a good transparent business. And think about today, like anyone listening, you yourself, when you buy a product, what's kind of like, you kind of want to know their story. Mm-hmm. Like, that's so important to us. Maybe it's our generation, maybe it's the time now, or maybe it's just like the phase, but I want to know who's creating this product. I want to know if I relate to her. Is she cool? Is she not? Is she nerdy? Is she like me? Is she like totally off her rocker? Is she like, what is she like? What does she like to do? You kind of like want to see yourself within them. And then you become like so attached to their product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you kind of want to look up to them, of course. And you're like, you know what? This chick is so rad, or this guy's product's awesome, or it's so unique. And you're like, yeah, I want to support them. And that's what's so great about like the local business and like really getting to know people now. And we have such great platforms to do that on. So utilize those and pick your strengths. Don't hang out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.
Pick the ones that
your audience hangs out on, for one. And typically, to kind of ease the pain of really finding out who your audience is, it's typically who you are. because you're creating a business from your passion. You're creating this from the love of something or from the desperation of something else or something that's missing. So you often have a lot of the characteristics of your ideal customer, your client avatar. So hang out where they hang out. Speak to them how they talk. Don't speak in a language that's formal if you don't speak that way in real life. So that's kind of where it really has to align. And that's when you're really going to start speaking to them. And when you do that before launch, being transparent, like if you're building a storefront, let's say, for example, oh my goodness, bring them through the entire process, the reno, everything that goes wrong. People love a good, sad, emotional story. It's like people can resonate with you. They want to relate to you and your business. And they want to be along for the ride, get people involved. I helped people name Digest. Before we launched, I couldn't think of a name, funny enough, and it's just Digest. But it was just I had people have a contest and I was I'll give you guys all the blends before. So you're creating momentum prior, and that's key. So transparency. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this because we're all perfectionists, of course. And I'm going to say this again. I think I said this on the last time, but perfectionism kills creativity. So when you are creating your business, letting people in on the nitty gritty and on the shitty parts and on the not so good and the crying moments and all that stuff, because people are going to be there right with you. They're going to be supporting you. And then come launch day, they're going to be just as excited as you.
That's true.
It's they're your best friends. You're taking them along on the ride and get them involved. Any new product that comes out or any new offering. And don't be afraid to go on Instagram and be if I were to put out this, would you buy it? Or what would you want to see in this? Test the waters. And that might be a great opportunity for you to do right now, especially through a brand launch, really getting into your community and messaging them and getting them really involved in hey, what do you guys want to see more of? Do a poll, do a huge survey, test what you want to do, put out feelers. And that's how you're really going to get to know them. And especially in a discovery phase. And then kind of having them along for the ride and having them have an opinion in your business is huge. And then basically come launch day, they're already on board. They're there with you. They are your biggest cheerleaders. They want you to succeed just as much as if it was their business. And that's what's so beautiful about letting people in on the background rather than hiding it and being this big, we are a big, huge conglomerate business. We're so successful. And that's how you're going to come across. Yes, businesses do this. Yes, it's some people's strategy. Yes, it does work often. But that's kind of also a big decision you need to make. Who are you going to be? And I knew, and this was a big decision I needed to make because I knew that the people I bought from, I knew who the owners were. I knew what they were like. I knew, what they did on their days off, that kind of thing, and how they used their product or what got them to creating their business. And that's what I was attached to. So I wanted to buy their product or their service.
I do often resonate with that. I will purchase from people that I admire or I like what they're doing or I like them as a person.
Totally.
Or I want to support them.
100%.
I want to get to know them, right?
Totally. Yeah. And you're just kind of on board and you never know what's going to happen down the road. And yeah, it's crazy.
It's definitely crazy.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's a wild ride.
Yes.
That's for sure.
So getting your name out there is kind of hard with social media being very saturated and it's very hard to grow a following these days. So how do you recommend getting out there?
Yeah, consistency. That's number one. You have to be consistent with all of your content. You have to be really clear on your content. I will totally admit in the beginning, even from where Woash was a year ago to where it is today, we have honed in so much more on what we talk about and how we say it and how we present it to our audience. And again, totally going to stress this. Your company will grow. Again, don't be a perfectionist in the beginning. It's going to start here. Let's say at a rebrand. And in a year, you're going to be how did I get here? It's just going to grow so much and evolve. And your audience is really going to tell you what they need and want. But you're always going to have that foundation. That foundation is the piece of where it stems from. So when I look back at where I started a year ago, it is the foundation, but I'm just so much more clear and I am so much more confident in how I present that to my audience. And that's kind of where differentiates, I guess you could say.
Okay. I definitely, I like that.
Did I answer the question? Now I'm getting so lost in the question.
No, that's definitely awesome. You have so much information to give. I can talk to you for hours.
No, I love it. I could talk about this for hours. Trust me.
What about like networking events? Like
yes.
Are there really good ones here in Vancouver?
Totally. Yeah. That was a huge part of me launching my business. And again, kind of like with the mentorship that I joined, I needed, because I didn't really have anyone around me that owned a business or was an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And like I want to say 100%, I do exercises with this in my mentorship. Like you are who you surround yourself with. Mm-hmm. Let's say the 5 to 8 people. And that's who you are. You're the average of them. So I kind of took a look around me, and I will say, and it is sad a little bit, but who I'm friends with now from who I was a year ago are not the same. My entire social, I want to say calendar, but like social surroundings have changed. And that they just naturally fell off. It just kind of, because I was growing into this. So you need to be an entrepreneur. You need to surround yourself with like-minded people. You can't go to a friend who hates her 9 to 5 and talk to her about growing a business. She's not really going to have the best advice for you or really great insight. She'll be there for you. She's that supportive friend that's like, oh, you're doing such a good job, that kind of thing. But you need people who are entrepreneurs that are doing what you're doing, that are a little bit ahead of you, maybe at the same phase as you. I would say kind of do half and half. You want people that are ahead of you because you need to learn from them. And they'll push you. They'll be like, I don't get what you're doing. Like, or
it'll be straight up.
Or this is what you launched this and it's like, this isn't going to work, or you need to do this or pivot this way. So they'll give you, and because entrepreneurship world is so fast and nitty gritty, it's just, people start getting a little bit more, let's push you. Let's get you there. People want to help people, mm-hmm. and you really need to know that. So don't be afraid ever asking anybody, because everybody just wants to help and see other people succeed, especially other entrepreneurs. So I'm a huge believer in networking events. I'm also a little bit of a half introvert, half extrovert. When I'm at an event, I am I love it. I'm in my element. I love it. I love it. I love talking to people. I love seeing what they're doing, what they're up to, what business they own. I love talking about my business, clearly. And I just think they're so valuable. And I think I used to work in the restaurant industry, and even within that industry, as much as I hated it, I knew that every person I served, there could be an opportunity there. And you could say that's quite selfish, but never be rude to somebody. Never be,
never know.
You never know if they can help you later in life. Mm-hmm. And the people that have come out of the woodwork to either buy my product, that have gone off to another career and now they own a store and they sell my product, or they've helped me do a specific project in it, mind blown. It's wild to me. The people that just want to help you, and the people from my first job have come back in my life. I'm this is so bizarre. So I really advise networking events. I think they're very valuable, just to even meet like-minded people, even to meet somebody that you really get along with and have an accountability partner if that's something you struggle with. And also some of the talks and stuff that they have, they're so valuable, and they touch on, you get to kind of hear a little bit of the behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. I want to say that I do struggle with a lot of entrepreneurs that kind of make it all sound so great. And we're here and we're ahead and we're such a good business or whatever it is. And they really try to sell it that they're successful and they're so big. But I'm a big believer in transparency, because that's how we're all going to grow and succeed. And I'm not really afraid to, share where my business is at, because
it's not all perfect.
No,
nobody
is the messiest thing.
No,
totally. I'm my house looks clean right now, but it's not. The things that fall to the wayside during being an entrepreneur is crazy. I used to, the habits I used to have, and sometimes they don't work out for a week, and which is awful, but
you got to do what you
have
to.
You know, you're the only one that moves it forward. So
exactly. You got to put your focus where it needs to be.
Totally. Yes.
So marketing, mm-hmm. This big empty void out there that I get lost in.
Yeah.
What is a good marketing strategy for a business?
They're all very unique for sure. You really have to figure out what's for you. And we actually go through that. So that's, I think it's step 8 in the mentorship, and we figure out and it really, it starts at your vision. What's your 1 year vision? Where do you want to be in a year? And then it's really building out the how to. How are you going to get there? And it has to be achievable. Again, you have to get to things that you can celebrate, and they have to be bite-sized and achievable. Because if you just look at this big vision of like your 5-year plan, you are going to drive yourself crazy that you're never going to get there. And you're probably just going to throw in the towel because you're just so fed up of, air quotes, failing. But yeah, like a good marketing strategy, it depends on your vision and where you want to go, how you're going to get there. And that's how you're going to build it out. But also there's so many points to it. Like what platforms are you going to utilize? Is there a message behind it? What's your consistency? If you only can put out 1 blog post a month, don't say you're going to put out 3.
Stick to what you can do.
Totally.
Be realistic.
100%. And it will grow and pivot, and things that aren't working. Let's say you start doing blog posts on a specific topic and they're not getting any traction. Pivot. Now what? So your marketing strategy, you also always need to be measuring. You always need to be looking at it from like a data perspective as well, and pivoting as you need and figuring out what really works. What social posts are just like get blown out of the water? Which ones are your highlight ones? In the first year, I will say it's a total learning curve. Unless you hire like a full-blown marketing team. But even then, they're going to sit there and be like, hey, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? But you might not know. So the first year is such a good, beautiful testing phase. And I think you're totally in that. And it's such an amazing phase to be in. I know it sucks right now. I totally get it. But you learn so much. So explore, do so many different things and see what sticks. And then be like, hey, this is sticking. Now what can I do with this? How can I monetize this? So for example, like the mentorship, like I just had so many people reaching out to me. I was meeting with so many people that it got to a point where I was like, there's something here. And I was like, what is it? And then I went back and I looked at how I started a business, and there's the gold. And I literally took my experience and I built out the most simplistic 10-step program to help people exactly who I was, let's say 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And that's my niche and my target market. I'm talking to the people in idea phase that are lost, have no idea what to do, can't hold themselves accountable, struggle, flip-flop back and forth. I totally get them. I was there.
Gotcha. So it's really just looking at where you want to be at an X point, and then working backwards and picking those milestones that you need to achieve throughout that period of time, and then breaking those down.
Yes.
And it's talking about like social posts, social platforms, like everything and related
kind
to
of
it.
all of your, so like a marketing strategy, think about your touch point. So how do you touch your audience? So for you, podcast, blog, Instagram.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm thinking those are your 3 main.
Yeah.
So those are your touch points. So those are the 3 outlets you're going to utilize and use to execute your marketing strategy.
Gotcha.
So those are like, let's say those are like the technology things you want to use, if you want to call it that. And then I'm not very techie with all these business words. I'm just like,
neither am I.
Yeah. And then it's kind of like, then you have to break down who you're talking to. So how are you going to speak to them directly on those 3 platforms? And then, what's the digital content that you're going to create that's going to capture their attention?
Gotcha.
What's going to make them stick around? And you have to gain retention. You need people coming back and back and back. So what's the stuff that they're so excited about that they're going to keep returning for? So this is, again, it's an ongoing learning practice, but knowing those kind of avenues and working backwards for sure. But I'm not just saying just have year 1, like where's year 3 and where's year 5? Because year 1 better get you to year 3.
Yes.
And then like heading into year 2. So like even I can actually run through a bit of my strategy. So, and then like year 3 better get you to year 5 is basically. So when I started, so basically my strategy for hitting the market and like my marketing strategy would be, I really wanted people along for the ride in the beginning. I was out in the community. I was building this community, Instagram, networking events. That's kind of how I gained traction a bit. And I kind of, on online and offline, which is very important too. People want to meet you, people want to hear. And I think I'm through an Instagram post, let alone through like this podcast, you're going to hear a different in my enthusiasm, obviously. So I always suggest offline too. And then, so that was kind of the beginning launch. Then I knew once I launched, how was I going to get my product out there in people's hands? What did I do? I gave away so much tea for free. I went to so many events, sponsored so many events, markets, anything I could get my hands on. that it got to a point where I started having to say no because I didn't have enough time to go to all these all these events and sponsorships. So that was year one. And if you ask anybody, they're like, Woash was not here one day and then it was everywhere the next. And then they were like, now that I'm a year in, they're like, how do you do it? You're everywhere. Like you're at every event I go to. But I also go tailored to events that I know my audience is hanging out at, which is obviously important. I can't drive that home enough. Mm-hmm. So that was my strategy. I wanted to be everywhere, anywhere that I could, where my audience was. I wanted to, and being in person with them, you really get to know them, learn, and like become friends with them. Mm-hmm. They join your community and it builds that way. It builds slowly because at an event, I'm only hitting about 30 people. So now that that was kind of year one strategy. Now that I'm at year two, I sat down with a mentor of mine and I was like, okay, year two, that's not sustainable anymore. That was brilliant. It was great. It got me to year one or to year two. And that's amazing. But now what? How do I play bigger? How do I approach and reach more people? So then it was like, what's this year going to look like? And literally October 1st is like the first big thing that's going to happen. So now it's like marketing campaigns. Now it's like building like larger communities, hitting way more people on a larger, grander scale with different strategies, events, exclusive offerings, like all these different things that I'm now building on that I'm like, this is me playing bigger in year two. That's going to get me more exposure, way more out into the industry. Like, and then my other strategies, like where should my product be now? Like, so the wholesale of first year and kind of the retail stores that I wanted to carry it, that's also changed. I learned what worked, what didn't, and now I'm pivoting into something a bit different this year.
Gotcha.
So it always changes. Does that make sense?
I'm kind of curious about this October 1st. Yeah. Just dropped.
No, I can totally, if I can totally give you a rundown of that at the end. Okay. It was such a good,
like October 1st, what?
Yeah. So, I can talk about it now. Oh. So October 1st, we're running our first marketing campaign. And it's called Me Time Moments. Mm. So we have a handful of beautiful, amazing influencers. So we've gone into the influencer world, which is exciting. And we have them all on board. And they're sharing like pivotal me time moments where Woash defines me time moments, basically those really hard subconscious or conscious moments and conversations that you have to have with yourself. That was a pivotal moment that was like defining of how you navigated the rest of your journey or life. So let alone it be, 6 months ago, let alone it be like a couple years ago. So again, kind of like I mentioned, we're launching an archive. So we actually have a Me Time Moments archive where we're actually going to be featuring amazing individuals that are sharing these really deep and heavy, dark moments in their life that were really hard to navigate. And they're sharing their moments because, again, I think we learn bigger and better together. Mm-hmm. So someone is going to read that can resonate with it. So this is all launching. So there's so many different layers. So there's like the Me Time Moments archive. Then we have the influencers. Then we're running actually a huge contest. When's this coming out?
Later on in October. So
okay, so we'll be in the thick of it. So exciting. So if you haven't been a part of it, I guess I could talk in that way. Basically, we're running a month long, so October 1st, October 31st contest. So if you want to participate to win a year's supply of me time, plus our new custom mugs that have not come out yet, plus our custom strainer that has not come out yet as well. So they're going to get all of this. If they participate in the Me Time Moments. And how they participate is by posting on a feed or like on your Instagram feed or your stories, video or photo, a Me Time moment. You share one of those moments. So again, one of those really defining, heavier, or really like just enlightening moments, but that was so pivotal to how you navigated the rest of your life.
Well. Competition in me. I'm going to win this sucker.
Yes. No. Oh my goodness. Totally. I'm so excited to hear. And the point of it, again, what's the why of this? Mm-hmm. The why is to disrupt self-care.
Yes.
What I really want to do is like, it's not just bubble baths and face masks and getting a massage and going to bed early or, taking 24 hours off social media. It's really those conversations within yourself. Those are those me time moments that are going to change how you feel about yourself, what your worth is, your deservingness. And it's just something that I've worked on so much in the past year that I'm like, my blood is boiling that I need to share this with the world and like impact more people, because we can all, again, like grow and learn from each other. And just, when we relate to people, you just like, you get inspired. You're like, if they can do it, I can do it. Of course you fucking can.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. I definitely agree. Like self-care, yes. People think sometimes it is, just taking a bubble bath or, reading a book and blah, blah, blah. But, yes, it does incorporate those elements, but I think it goes so much deeper than that.
Totally.
It's caring about your inner self, your
100%.
soul, self-development, thinking about your thoughts. Like what kind of thoughts are you having daily that are attracting different circumstances and situations in your life.
Reality.
Exactly.
Totally.
Your thoughts create your life,
100%.
right? So it's being aware of those things and trying to change the way that you are thinking about things as well. There's just so much involved in self-care.
Totally.
And it goes so deep.
Yeah. And it's like, I totally agree with you. And I'm like so passionate about it. I just like, and it's funny because like coming from, a tea company who were like, oh, tea, like, stay home and have a cup of tea. It's like 100%, but like, that maybe you're going to be sipping a cup of me time or immunity when you're in those deeper, darker moments, when you need that time to reflect and journal. Mm-hmm. Maybe like I want to be that something that is just that support piece, knowing that you're not alone. We're here for you. We're here to support you internally and nourish you and, really help your body get through this, because a lot of our emotions in those nitty-gritty conversations, they affect our body 100%. In physical ways. So we have to work at both.
Thoughts manifest physical.
100%.
Right?
So
totally agree.
I got goosebumps talking about that.
I could talk to you for hours.
I love it. No, this has been so good. Yeah. Let's keep going.
Back to the business part, because I know we can get off on self-care and self-love and everything so much.
Totally.
How do you test a product or a service out on your audience so that you know that it's actually something that they want, something that they need?
Totally. Brilliant question. And it's 100% something you have to do. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on your business. Every business is unique. So again, kind of coming back to the mentorship, it's the framework. They're prompt questions. I prompt you and probe you in the way you need to go to make sure that you get this done in whatever shape or form that is for your unique business. So with testing a business, my mentees, their businesses are the most polar opposite things that I could ever even imagine would come across my board. Like it's so bizarre. But it works. All the steps work for them because it's just probing them into, the foundation that they need to build. Mm-hmm. So with testing, that's become really unique. But the one thing that I do think, with a product, if you have the capital or the money to get some samples and put it out in the world and then, get some feedback, that kind of thing. Let's be serious. Minimal people are going to do that. Did I do that? No. So the way you can really do it, let's say for product-based businesses, build out a survey. And for service too. Build out a survey that really gets into what you want to know out of your target audience. But you need to know who your target audience is, how you can talk to them, what you're offering. You have to know all that fundamental stuff first and be very clear on it to get to this stage. So this is actually step 4 in the mentorship. And you really need to create creating a survey, as much as you just are like, that's so simple, I'll just create one. It's a very strategic thing to do. Mm-hmm. And we actually had a full entire course on it in business school. Mm-hmm. It's really strategic because of how you need to word things, and you can't give people the answer. You can't probe them in a certain way. You really want to know what they think. Mm-hmm. So, because that's the only thing that's going to grow your business. So that's kind of a really good way to go about it. And it's really easy to hit a mass amount of people. It is like time consuming. You have to push it out to a community that you probably don't have at this point because your business is just getting built. It's in the preliminary stages, but this is something you can do throughout the entire beginning phase of your business. You can do this at any time in your business. If you're kind of like, what's next for me? Survey it, put it out there. Even if you have a brand like yourself, do a poll, really trying to get information from your customers. They're going to tell you what they want and need. So gain that information. That's testing. If you have an idea for something, create like a mock-up or a little mini version of it, especially if it's a service, create a little mini version of it and launch it and post it. And see who responds to it and always get like feedback forms. You always want people's feedback. And I also think in the beginning, like with the mentorship, I offered it for free to a group of people because I wanted to know if it worked. I wanted to know if what I had was gold. And that's how I tested it. And I tweaked it a lot throughout that. I added steps. I reworded things. I added questions, took away questions. I learned so much from my mentees, just as much as they learn from me. So it is always like ever evolving. And because their businesses are so unique, you know, it allows me to really alter and change specifically for their business as we work together. So yeah.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Get out.
Great
in the community.
advice.
Thank you.
Okay. So what tools, books, podcasts, communities do you recommend for entrepreneurs to tune into or to get?
Yeah. So again, kind of networking, figure out what networking events for you. If you're sitting there at home and you're a total introvert and you're like, that is my worst nightmare going to a networking event, bring a friend. Message me. I'm usually at them, whatever. They're not that scary. And you have to realize that everyone else is pretty much in the same boat as you. Yeah. So I would say, and again, in the mentorship, I push you so far to your comfort zone. So I would make you go to a networking event. And if you hate it and it was the worst thing of your life, okay, then don't do it again. It's not for you. That's totally fine. But I've just built my business and I've reaped so many rewards from being out and networking and building a community that's either clients and or people that can help me in my business. And it's really helped me get me where I am today. So I can't say it's so valuable. So I think networking events for sure. There's beautiful communities here in Vancouver. Van City Business Babes, Rise, which is actually a Calgary-based community, but they're actually out here in Vancouver. Like often they kind of shoot events. There's, I think it's called Together Tuesdays. Go on Eventbrite and just like search like business entrepreneurs or startup business or shoot me a DM. There's so many events. Look at specific venues. My favorite venue to go to events is at Work Lab. I used to work out of there. It's a co-working space. I just vibe with the whole community there, that any event that's there, I'm like, oh, it's gold. And if it's not, like some of them I don't go to for sure. But I go to events where my community hangs out, but I also go to events where they're business focused. So I do a little bit of both because I also want to meet other entrepreneurs, but I also want to be where my community is and out with them.
Gotcha.
Seeing what they're doing, what are they talking about, like that. You always are trying to soak up. You got to be a sponge being an entrepreneur. You just got to like take it all in. So networking events are huge. Podcasts, I guess, is a huge thing that I learned so much stuff from. Jenna Kutcher, she is most brilliant person ever.
Yes.
And how she's structured her podcast, you can literally like type in and be like email marketing, and she has like 10 episodes on it. You can type in social media strategy or whatever. I mean, she does it so specific, like 5 things I wish I knew starting a business, 5 things I wouldn't have done, that kind of thing. So those are really specific that are really great. I love her for business. And then book. Yeah. I mean, that's probably my go-to for business for sure. There's a couple other ones. I listen to a lot of personal. That's kind of where I get my personal growth stuff from, is from podcasts. There's like Instagram handles that I follow. I'm in a beautiful Facebook group called Girl Gang. Anything you need. I'm like, hey, anybody specialize in this? Or like just Facebook communities, like just getting out there in the community and being around people that are doing what you're doing. That's where you need to be and need to hang out. So books, I read anything from like learning from like manifesting to like Chinese herbs and Ayurveda to like herbal medicine to self-development to money books, to investing. Like I read like all of like this overall encompassing. I'm not saying every person needs to do this. Stick to what you love and what really interests you, because that's the only way you're going to get through a book for sure. But yeah, I have a long list of
it's making you well-rounded, right? You're kind of touching on all these things that are going to help your business.
Totally. And and it goes through phases. Like right now I'm in like this money phase. So I'm like reading money books. But before I was like probably whatever. In the beginning of my business, I was reading like so many books on like herbs and Chinese medicine and Ayurveda and all of this, like all of that type of stuff, because I was like in the thick of it. And then I got such a good foundation of it. I'm like, okay, now where am I at in my business? What do I need to learn? That kind of thing. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Great. We'll include in the show notes kind of a list of what your go-tos are.
Yeah, I can curate a list for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your mentorship programs.
Totally.
I know we've talked about little points and steps and kind of an overview, but let's talk about exactly what they are.
Yeah.
What do you do with your mentees?
Yeah, what do I do? So, again, it's really for the person if you're sitting there and being like, I have an idea and it's gold and I really want to do it, but I have no idea how to get there. Or if you're the person that's like, I have too many ideas and I don't know which one to pick. Or if you're sitting there being like, I've kind of started, but I really have no idea where I'm headed, or is this working? Is this not? Or I've tried and it's not working. That's who I like to play with and who I like to mentee. And through that, I've basically, again, I'm probably on repeat, but built this experience-based from what I went through, 10-step program that's very unique. I have literally never seen anything like it on the market, which I was like, oh, this has got to be out there. There's no way that nobody coaches on this. And when I started developing it, I was like, there's nothing like this. Like, of course you can hire a business coach. Of course you can hire a mentor or whatever that looks like. This is so specific, again, so unique to my audience and my ideal customer that they're kind of in that idea phase. They're in that brainstorming, that like, what am I doing? Trying to discover and how am I going to get there? I am that solution for you. And I am that kind of, and I'll totally admit it, I'm going to be that first big investment you make, 100%. And I totally know how that feels. It's so scary. It's scary as shit. Like it's, you kind of feel like, again, you're kind of taking away from money you would want to put in your business into this. And you're kind of like, what am I going to get out of it? And it's so scary and it's so hard, but without the foundation of a business, you're going to be dog paddling the entire time and you're not going to know what you're doing. You're going to probably be spinning in circles and you're probably going to try this, that, and this and still be spinning in circles. And then probably just think you're a huge failure when you're not. You're just kind of like not getting probed in that way. And I have multiple mentors. Like I have 2 females and 2 males, and they're all in such different industries because I love different perspectives. I love the different genders as well, just because we all give such unique perspectives to things. So back to the mentorship. I go off on such tangents, sorry. So yeah, basically the mentorship, it has 2 different options. So I do like a mentorship for 3 months and I do a mentorship for 6 months. I've actually only ever done the 6 month. Nobody's ever done the 3 because everyone's kind of in that idea phase and in that kind of like, I'm at kind of ground zero, or I kind of want to restart and figure out where I'm at. That takes 6 months. Unless you are like, and often they all have full-time jobs. So, or part-time. So the amount of time you can give me a week is probably not that much. So again, that's going to take 6 months. Yes, you're going to be working on the weekends. Yeah, you're going to be doing it on the weekdays. Like that's just what you're going to be doing. But, we basically meet virtually once a week. It's a one-on-one conversation between the 2 of us. And we basically go through each of the steps that you just did. So however much. So it doesn't mean that step 1 is going to take you 1 week and you're going to be completed. Because some of the steps are a lot more heavy and a lot more detailed and lengthy, you go at your own pace. So I am there along for the ride with you, but I will keep you on target. I will hold you accountable for everything you have to do. I will push you totally out of your comfort zone, and we will arrive on time from what you've decided what you want to accomplish. Like the goal that we set together of what you want to accomplish while working with me, we'll arrive there on time. And that's my job. Your job is to do it.
Yes.
I don't do this for you. I do not do the hard work. I have done the hard work of making this so simplified for you and so easy and to achieve in small bite-sized actionable steps that it's basically you just have to kind of walk through the steps and we'll arrive there with a solid concrete foundation for your business for you to literally just take it and run and feel so confident in what you have and where you're going, what your mission is, your vision, how you're going to get there and who you're doing it for. So yeah, it's kind of, we cover different topics and they build on each other. So you can't do step 2 without step 1. So they totally build all the way up until building a website for yourself. And I also have so many like saver tips if you want to do things on your own, if that's kind of the route you want to go, or I have people that I recommend within my community. So I kind of like to say that I've built this little like kind of collective behind me that I really recommend these people to work with. So I also cut out all that time, all the people that I took, hours and days researching. I hand them to you on a silver platter. And I feel like I kind of hand you a business plan on a silver platter, and I just hold you accountable to get there and to achieve your goal, because I totally know where you're at and how you're feeling so lost and so confused. And I just want you to get to where I am and how I feel right now, because it is so fucking worth it. It's amazing.
I think that's amazing, because really being an entrepreneur, it's lonely.
Oh, it's so lonely.
And although there's people out there, that you may connect with or you have as friends and whatnot, but you're still doing it alone. You're still being held accountable on your own. Totally. You're still having to figure things out on your own. No one's going to do it for you. So having a mentor there to kind of help you brainstorm, help keep you on task with everything and kind of push you forwards and give you everything that they've learned along the way, like that's invaluable. Totally.
I 100% agree. And it's something that I seeked when I was starting, and it helped me so much. Again, totally invaluable, that I wanted, because I was getting bits and pieces from all of them. I was kind of like, I was always struggling to find that little bit more. I was reaching out to somebody being like, hey, I just need this portion. But I was like, where's the whole thing? Like, where's this whole picture? And I don't know if like anyone's into human design. I always talk about human design, but I'm a projector, if anyone knows what that is. And basically the type of person that is I can take something very abstract and very confusing, and I can create a very simplified system around it. So when I kind of learned that after I built this, I was like, that's it flow. I can't even explain to you how well this flowed right out of me. I was like, this is the steps. This is how you get there. And it literally will get you from that very blurry idea phase literally to launch day. That's awesome. Which is so amazing. So, yeah.
So are you taking any mentees now? Like when is the next?
So I have quite a few right now, and being the thick of the tea business, I'm probably taking like one more.
Okay.
But I have a soft spot for them. So, reach out. But I probably have room for one more at the moment. And then probably the next wave will be most probably like February. I'd say February, March is when the next wave will be, where they'll kind of be on their way with launching, and then I'll be able to kickstart again.
And how does somebody apply?
So if you head to the website, woashwellness.com, so WOASH wellness, I'm assuming it'll be in the show notes. At the top navigation bar, there's a mentorship tab. You will find out all this information in way more detail than I've explained it. Well, probably not. We went pretty in depth today.
Yes, we did.
You can find out what each of the topics of the 10 steps are. You get kind of like an overview of what it is. And there's an application form on there. So I kind of want to know a little bit about you, where you're at. I have had a lot of people come to me that, have been in business for a couple years, and I'm kind of like, I can't really help you. I really want the person that is an idea phase that's blurry, that really is just like, okay, what am I doing? How am I going to do it? Who am I doing it for? So that's very clear on the website as well. And it gives a full rundown of what we do, how we do it, who it's for, who it's not for, and then basically all the packages. So I do offer like one-offs, like hour meetings. If you're just like have a bunch of pressing questions, then there's like an hour meeting that we can just do a quickie one-off. Then I do the 3-month, and then I do the 6-month, and they all contain, you'll still have access in the 3 months to all of the steps, but it's more for the person who is they're still not ready to launch. They just need to take it that one step further, but they've kind of done the beginning part.
Gotcha.
Which I thought I'd run into a lot more, but I haven't. So
that's surprising.
Yeah. I'm like everyone, because I think kind of maybe when you're on your way in it a little bit, you're kind of like, okay, I can finish this off. And then they'll probably call me in like 6 months and be like, okay, we need to revert back. I have worked with some people that have basically kind of like bought inventory or kind of created something and put it out there. And they're kind of like, this isn't working. Now what? And I literally tell them, I'm like, I would love to work with you. I can totally see all your pain points and what's going on. We have to start at square one. And they're like, what do you mean? I've been doing this for 8 months. And I'm like, no, we're going back to square one, because you need that foundation. And that's the whole point of it, is really building that solid foundation. No matter what your business is, that's going to look the same in the sense that it's a foundation, but it's going to be so unique for what your business is.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. So, we've just shared your website URL. So if you want to connect with her on Instagram, definitely do so.
Mm-hmm.
So that is at Woash Wellness. So definitely connect there with her and stay tuned for everything that is coming up.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So many exciting things.
So thank you, Cassy, for taking the time really to sit down with me again, which is awesome.
Thank you.
And to share this new passion of helping other people achieve their dreams, which is so awesome. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And it was so great to talk to you about this.
I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to www.projectloveco.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another unplugged conversation.